Welcome to Story Comic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 412. I'm your host, Barney Smith of StoryComic.com. We're excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed and celebrated author of high-vibrational wellness, Lainie Sevanté Wulkan. Lainie,
Thank you.
how
Thank you
you
for.
doing?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm already enjoying being here and having great banter with you and
I know.
good conversation. Travel, food, health, and wellness. It has it
See?
all.
So you are a renaissance person here, Lainey, because not only are you a best-selling author, you also have you're also you also have your own show. You also have your own line of teas. You also have workshops and retreats that you actually host as well.
Yes.
And my goal by the end of this interview is that people are going to jump at and wanting to go out and purchase your books and learn more about everything that is at the Center for Intuitive Food Therapy. So that's my goal, and I
I
believe that
love
we can
that
probably
goal.
do that.
You
Yes.
are a humanitarian by even just having that goal, wanting to see the world be more healthy and positive and enlightened for sure.
I'm very curious. I mean, we'll talk about all all things Laney, but we also want to kind of focus a little bit on your latest book that you
Yes.
just released called High Vibrational Wellness, and it is available, as we say, on Amazon. Perfect, perfect holiday gift for anybody that is looking to shop for something for themselves or for a loved one that wants to make sure that they are actually living a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I guess my first question for you, Lainey, is
Okay.
what initially drew you to explore the intersection of, say, like food science and spirituality?
How long's your show? Yeah, no, that's a big question. I came from, you don't know, I will share. I came from a very intuitive family. I grew up in a family where all the women were in my lineage were either healers or psychics or my great grandmother was the town psychic healer in Russia. She was that person, great grandmother. And then on down, my mother was, was the pet healer. We all had a gift of somehow connecting to higher realms, energy healing, if you will. And funny enough, she was getting a reading when I was a young child. And I was running around on the floor, and the reader looked down at me, and said, she died of food poisoning in a past life. And it wouldn't be surprising if she ended up doing something in this lifetime around food. Now, as time would go on in my teenage years, I was a total germaphobe. I was always a little bit hyper sensitive around food, around like, is it moldy? Better check the expiration date. What is that? It's not form. I was always looking at food and like being, like super over obsessed with making sure it was healthy. Right? Is there a correlation? Who knows? So I ended up going to school um, a billion decades ago and getting a degree in food science, dietetics, and nutrition. Meanwhile, still coming from a very intuitive family, I ended up moving over into working for a Hollywood chef at the time, who was the top vegan and vegetarian celebrity chef, and they were very spiritual. And I started to watch and learn and understand food as a consciousness being and energy and frequency and vibration. And, there's certain things you do around food and certain things you don't. You don't yell, you don't be angry when you're cooking. That moves into the vibration into the food. I started to see these things and kind of make this sort of like science side, spiritual enlightened side, and started to really see a bigger picture around the consciousness of food. And that was 30 plus years ago. And I've always
Mhm.
been a foodie all these years, and very fascinated around cooking. And I started to get very interested again back into food healing. And I took a course about 5 years ago, well, 2019. And I was doing other things. I was a meditation and spiritual recording artist. And speaking to one of the other recording artists on my album, I produced this album. What was our other passion? It was food. And what was my other passion has always been oracle cards and tarot cards. And I've always been a little bit of a channel and able to bring forward wisdom. And I'm in this class that was extremely scientific, food science, and becoming an advanced food healing instructor, when it just really came together that wouldn't it be cool to explain food healing in a way that was esoteric?
Mm.
So, ta-da! That was 2019, and the Food Healing Oracle deck was born. It was just a natural. I could have been a documentary, it could have been a book, but it was just sort of this great blend. And it kind of went from there. It took off, and it was in the middle of COVID. It kind of established in 35 countries. It was just this great 60 cards, 60 foods that were pretty much all vegan or plant-based. It was fruits, vegetables, herbs, nuts, and spices, and there was an oracle platform. You have a
Mm.
picture, you have a word, and you have a spiritual message. And it just seemed to resonate with everybody who eats, which seems to be everybody. And now they were understanding what they're eating and why. Then we had a system, a guidebook for when they went shopping of like, why am I craving blank?
Mm.
Coconuts, Brussels sprouts, blueberries. And I started to help them see it's not just what the body's calling for on the food side. The body, is more also there's esoteric. What are your chakras saying and how to eat for the elements? And it
Right.
kind of grew from there. So that's kind of the thumbnail sketch in decades worth of combining. And
Explain a more in depth look at what is like the concept of like high vibrational foods and how does that impact our wellness?
yeah, and that's really in relation to that book. And
Hmm.
high vibrational wellness to me is the whole complete picture. It's this emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual balance,
Right.
or the mind, body, spirit, if you will. So the food healing oracle deck, okay, high vibrational wellness, it actually, to be truth be told, that first started off as high vibrational eating, because here
Okay.
I speak in food. Actually, that in itself is a complete grid of symbology. If you followed the Food Healing Oracle deck, you would know exactly what a pineapple means, what does an avocado means. I have
Okay.
a system. So I'm really actually giving you messages on that front cover. And so the first original version of high vibrational wellness was high vibrational eating. And I gathered just not only myself, but other chefs and food coaches. And then the more I thought about it, in my teachings are this emotional, mental, physical, spiritual. And I realized we're not just feeding our body, we're feeding our thoughts,
Mm.
and we're definitely feeding our soul. And so, in order to have a healthy life, we have to have all of those things. So, instead of high vibrational wellness, I moved into high vibrational eating. I moved into high vibrational wellness, and I gathered people who can talk on all the subjects. So, when it comes for me, I talk on high vibrational foods, and
Mm.
those are foods that are going to lift you up. It's going to raise your vibration. It's going to make you feel, if you joy and love and peace and harmony, versus mad and sad and anger and grief, or wherever you are. But there is a scale that actually measures that. I didn't create it. Dr. David Hawkins did one and did the vibrational scale of frequency, and there is a scale. And let's just give anger and rage and jealousy and all the kind of acidic, it looks like a chakra system. Those are like 100. Low vibrational foods, low vibrational energies. Acidic is when our body's feeling acidic.
Mm.
But if you go up the scale, you actually become more alkaline. And when you
Okay.
go up the scale, look at mango. That's one of our top high vibrational foods because the word associated with it is joy. And joy is
Right.
like one of the most high vibrational energies on the planet. And next to it is strawberries, love.
Mm.
So they teach you how to move up your own scale of high
Mm.
vibrational. Mushrooms, magic.
Mm.
And you see kale there, that's our fertility card. And grapes is attitude. And
Huh.
so, yeah, I have a little bit of a system that helps, and I've spiritually been guided to explain why some of these foods have those words. But yeah, high vibrational wellness, high vibrational foods really is allowing foods to help you move into a greater state of these mind, body, spirit energies.
For our listeners out there, we are on the website Center for Intuitive Food Therapy.com, and we're looking at through your store page, and so that because what we're looking at here, that is and it's an over 150 page book, and it comes with the 60 card deck with that. Then
You get the book. I just had her wrote to her recipe. We're multitasking. Uh, the book is a guidebook
Okay.
and it gives a spiritual message. It comes with the 60 cards and it's something you'll want to refer to. I know a lot of people are, oh, I'm so intuitive, I don't need the book. This is the book you do need and you'll want because it not only gives a spiritual message, but it also we call it the healing wisdom. But then there's a section on the food called practical gifts. And
Okay.
there's going to be something that talks about what that food is, what's in it, something interesting about it, why you should have it. Because this is not the deck. These aren't the decks. There's actually two now. You were looking at volume one. It's not the deck. I know a lot of people like to play with oracle cards and they get a card that they don't love. They're like, I'll just put it back in the deck. No, no, this is not that deck. This is pay attention to what that food is calling for you. You want me to pull you a card just to see for fun?
Sure. Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
I have both decks here. So these are
Okay.
our minis. This would be the volume one. And we actually have a volume two because as it would turn out after 2 years, it turns out that people said they wanted more food and 60 wasn't enough. And I thought, wow, I thought 60 foods, 60 messages, and people would write me constantly, do you have this food? Do you have that food? Do you have this food? And after 2 years, it was time to write a second deck. So now there's two, and that one's called Second Helpings. And so it's a spoonful of wisdom. So this is what the second one looks like. And it's the
Okay.
same 60 foods, but they're different foods. So now you have 120 plus foods.
120. Okay, to pick from.
Yeah.
Okay. All
So let's
right.
pull a card for you.
Okay. All right.
We
Let's
can
see
pull
what
a
we
card
get.
for the audience too. Do you have a question or you want me to see what the Food Healing Oracle deck wants to share with you?
Let's see what. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what the universe has for me.
All right. Let's just do that. And is that your born name, Barney?
It is not. No. No.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So we're going to go with Barney though. That's the
Yeah.
Savante is what I go by really.
Okay.
I was born Lainie. All right. What do we have in store for you? You got the tomatoes card.
The tomatoes card action,
Yeah.
huh? Okay.
Yeah. So this is a very divine masculine card. Action is more that doing energy. That is more what we would say masculine, where female would be more being, like you receive and you're putting yourself out there as the masculine. Is there anything that you have been hemming and hawing and now you're ready? You've been wanting to kind of put into action? Because this would be
Yes.
time for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so if you look at the tomatoes, they kind of are going through their season, like they're thinking about it They're mulling over it, they're weighing out the options, and it's just kind of like moving into a greater state of coming to fruition.
Right.
So this would be telling you that this would be really good for you to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Oh,
sometimes when we want to create that intention, I encourage people to consider eating those foods because you're actually creating that dialogue with your body saying, I'm intending to take action with blank. And you're actually telling your cells and you're kind of setting your body up for that to happen.
right.
So you mentioned soursop earlier, and
Yeah.
I'm a huge soursop fan. So I put soursop, I sell a protein powder that's soursop, and every morning I put it in my smoothies. And soursop is my miracles card. So every day I intend and I drink the smoothie to have miracles this day. Like today, I intend miracles to happen in my life. And I'm really saying that and drinking the intention and telling my body, like, bring it on.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. What's your go-to? What's Lainey's go-to meal like when you're just for those that might be, for those that are listening and watching this could be saying, listen, I live in a food desert. I don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. What am I supposed to do? What would be your advice for them?
My go to are smoothies because I feel that I can create a whole story within my consciousness in the beginning. And that's why I wrote a smoothie book because people are really on the go, and including myself. I travel extensively. And so I want something easy. And so for me to put everything in a blender, create the intentions, and that's why I wrote a smoothie book, Nourishing Wisdom Beyond the Blend, because I can kind of create the story of the day and I can create that system. And I get all so much nutrition in a smoothie, whether I put my own protein powder and fruits and vegetables. In terms of what other people can do, if they couldn't do that, and I also am a big proponent of juicing too. I have a book that will be coming out about that, but there's smoothies and then there's juices. If you can't, I mean, I really support people being able to do their own gardening. If they can get as close to local, the better
Mm.
for the body. Farmer's market, or get a little planter box, or throw some seeds in from your local hardware store. It's very, or online. Try to do that. That would be really good. But go-to is going to be different for everybody. So I couldn't say, go-to for you tomatoes and the next person would be like blueberries. But I teach intuitive food therapy. So what does that mean? I teach you to tune in to your own understanding of your soul, your spirit, your body, your gut.
Hmm.
Trust your gut. And I teach you to many different ways through classes and through the Oracle decks in my books that you can open up your refrigerator and when you lock on like, oh, I want to have those carrots tonight. Somehow, some way, I need to have those carrots. And so I teach you to understand that your soul, your spirit, your body already is well ahead of you. It's just like
Mm.
when you go to the grocery store and like you're like, what should I have tonight? You're like, oh, I need to have those artichokes. So everyone's individual in what their go-to is, and everyone's individual in the fact that our bodies change by the moment. Like yesterday, you can eat meat, today you can't. Yesterday, you wanted something, but it's about being very present with yourself in this moment. In this moment, what does my body need? And I think a lot of us forget how smart our body is, and it's always trying to get your attention, and our minds are always just like on the next phone call, on the next text, going, going, going. And yet, if we stopped and started having better dialogue with our own body, which is our temple, we only have one, treat it well, you will have a better relationship with your body, and your cells will harmonize a lot better when you start to understand that it's getting your attention, it's asking you to respond, and you guys have to work together to
Mm.
create this outcome, which is longevity and wellness.
And so you mentioned you're going to be making there's a juicing book coming out, you said as
Yeah,
well.
it's in my line of 2025 projects. I have a 7-book series called Feeding Your Chakras for
Okay.
those who are interested in getting a little bit more esoteric on what foods, recipes, and ways can we ground ourselves in the root, and how can we open up our third eye for more intuition. I'm going to have a 7-book series on that.
Okay.
But I also am a big fan of juicing, and juicing and smoothies are very different. Juicing extracts everything, right? It leaves the pulp, it leaves the fiber, and it's just the liquid. And smoothies is the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
And so there's all the fiber, there's all the pulp, and sometimes there's the seeds. So they're very different, but they both serve to create wellness in the body. So I'm going to just have recipes for both. The book I have out now is really popular. It's basically what I did is took foods from the first 60 cards in the food healing oracle deck, and I put them together to make intentional recipes. And
Right.
so literally there's 38. 5 of them are called prosperity smoothies. They're designed in their ingredients and their attunements to actually create wealth. I have it's that top one, the third one on the top level where you see the smoothie. Yeah. So I have chakra smoothies, nature smoothies. I have hot smoothies, which would be like a soup and a cold smoothie, but they're
Cool.
really fun. So I actually I could give you the recipe, and then I actually provide an attunement that you can say as you're drinking it. And I've done lots of workshops, smoothie workshops, play shops.
That's
And
awesome.
I actually say, drink the smoothie and then stop and read that affirmation and then drink the smoothie again. And you can feel a change in frequency. That to me is high vibrational.
Okay.
When you can actually attune that energy as you're drinking something.
Okay.
And basically they're based on the cards, the words that are on the cards from the decks.
So, Lainey, if people want to learn more about you and are interested in purchasing your decks or your books, where's the best place they could go to?
Well, if they want to get a signed copy of any of these books, you can go to my website.
Okay.
It's Center for Intuitive Food Therapy.com. You can also, I have it abbreviated, CIFTofficial.com.
Okay.
But if you want to take advantage of free shipping on Prime, you can get most of those books, not the decks, but most of the books are all on Amazon,
Right.
not the decks. And the decks, I think, are great fun. My husband and I pull them every morning, every night. It's just, you can make a meal together. What should we all have? And we all pull a card and we're like, okay, it's kind of like Chopped. You figure out these are the cards we all pull. What are we going to make with this? But you can ask those cards anything. It's not just what food does my body need, or why am I craving radishes over and over and over. I mean, I've seen crazy, crazy stories. It's just over and over where, like our eggplant card is our shadow card. Not all
Hmm.
the cards are, unicorns and roses. In life, it's duality, right? There's
Right.
some good, some bad. And a woman pulled the eggplant card and it was the shadow. And she's reading the spiritual message. I'm going to call her a muggle because she knew nothing about esoteric or the fact that there's an oracle. What does that mean to her? It was probably a food flashcard. But
Right.
anyway, she reads the message about eggplant and shadow. And when she said, that's interesting. And I always know when someone says that's interesting that it just wasn't really connecting. So she hands me the card back, and I said, oh, and by the way, eggplants are incredible artery scrubbers. And her eyes went ding. She starts crying, and she had artery disease.
Mm.
I
See?
mean, I've seen it thousands of times, and I actually talk about one of the experiences was in the high vibrational wellness book in my first chapter. I talk about a woman who's like comes up to me at a show and says, "I have heart disease." Like, I mean, that's how she introduces herself. And you know how food looks like the organs? Did you know that? A
Yeah.
lot of foods look like the organs, like carrots and blueberries look like the eyes, and well, the red bell pepper is looks like the chamber of a heart. So I happen to have on my cards. I said, "Would you like me to pull a card for you?" And I pulled the red bell pepper. I mean, it was like out of 124 foods, it would have been the food that would have been appropriate to talk to her about
Right.
when she
Yeah.
tells me she had heart disease.
Yeah.
Because red bell peppers, especially when they are cooked down into um, uh, like a sauce or that sort of thing, a paste is extremely good. It's just loaded with phytochemicals that are good for the heart. But it's just amazing because I see it all the time. All the time, these cards speak to the people who need to hear what the food's trying to tell them.
Right. Huh. Well, Lainie, this has been great, and we're gonna have to have you come back on when you have another book coming out because I still have lots of questions to ask you, and I know we
Okay,
ran out of time, but
sure.
come back on again. I have yeah, I'm chucker block full of questions, and so I'll have to wait till
I've never
next
even
time.
heard that word before. Say that one
Oh,
more time.
really? Chucker block. It's a New England term. See, it's
I love it.
yeah.
Okay. You've taught me something new, and I'm glad I
There you
taught you a
go.
few things. I chucker blocked you. I didn't even know if that was right.
I told my wife, I said, "Listen, I'm interviewing Lainie," and I said, "Do you want to ask her?" Did I could? And she didn't get
You know, I'm
a
a
time
children's
to.
book author as well.
Really?
Yeah. I wrote a best-selling book called Finn's Giant Leap. It's about spirituality for children. It's like learning to believe in yourself and positive messaging. It's on
Oh,
Amazon. I don't
geez,
even have a
Lainie,
single copy right here. I've sold out.
you got to come back on then. I would have a different show and talk about your children's book too.
Can
So
I? I would love that.
we have my podcast is called We Make Children's Books. That's the one that's specifically for yeah.
You're
So I've
kidding
had
me.